I'm Kiyan.
And this is Trust Your Doctor, the podcast that cuts out the most interesting scenes. Which means this episode will just be 5 minutes long, because we're just going to cut out the entire discussion of the episode and our summary. It'll just be this intro and the ending.
So that's it for this week. No. This week we watched The Invasion.
Episodes 5 through 8.
Yes, the second half of The Invasion, I meant to say. Because, in case you didn't know, since this serial was 8 episodes, we opted to split it up because that's just too much.
Mainly just because of scheduling. I mean, we could have watched 8 episodes in 1 week. It wasn't a good week to do it.
Yep.
It didn't fall on a good week to watch 8 episodes.
But I did want to mention that this serial did split itself in half quite nicely.
Indeed.
Like, if there was one serial that would be good to split up, it was this one.
Well, I mean, the Daleks' master plan ended up splitting itself nicely because right after the half you got Feast of Stephen.
Yeah.
That Christmas special.
But yeah, I wanted to say, before we get into summarizing things, that going along with that, this serial almost felt like, well, and now I know why, since now that I've read that it was originally meant to be 4 episodes. I guess this kind of explains it, but it almost felt like it led up to the climax in episode 4, and then things sort of settled down, and then there was like more rising action until another climax in episode 8, which I thought was kind of nice. Mainly just because we watched it this way, but probably anyone else watching it like all in one go would be like, what is this? Because right after the Cybermen show up at the end of episode 4...
The Doctor just legs it.
The Doctor and Jamie kind of just sneak back out, and what you thought was going to be a climax leading up to a bunch of action isn't. And we thought Vaughn was going to get killed in the first 5 minutes of episode 5, but he doesn't.
He survives another 4 episodes. Which I'm
3
glad
and like
about.
4/5.
Yeah.
He dies.
Wow. But yeah,
you knew it was coming. Knew.
At least they didn't go the Tomb of the Cybermen route. They just kill off the guy who was going to control the Cybermen as soon as the Cybermen come back.
But you have to admit, like, midway through, like, episode 3, you knew, like, yeah, he's not gonna survive this. Like, even before the Cybermen showed up, I was like, yeah, he's not surviving.
Wow.
And he doesn't. So, yeah, they get back to Unit's base to tell them that, surprise, it's the Cybermen. And the Brigadier's like, oh god, the Cybermen. Well, he doesn't actually do that.
Well, he more goes, oh man. Wait, who's the Cybermen?
So they explain it, and he tries to get approval to take action from like higher up on the chain of command or something.
General Rutledge.
Right. But Rutledge is like, nope. Do something else. I don't know. He doesn't get permission to do what he needs to do. So he tries to get permission from Geneva, apparently.
Yeah, well... Rutledge was under the mind control of, what's his name? Vaughn. So, Rutledge is kind of like, nope. And Rutledge kind of goes a little bit insane, and then he tells Vaughn that there's no way he can stop him from going to Geneva, and Vaughn's like, why not? How long until they take action? How long? And Rutledge is just, 2 days?
And Vaughn's like, oh, well, that's okay, because the invasion force will be here by then. And it's then revealed that he's spearheading the invasion force of the Cybermen, and they're going to take over everyone on the planet with radio waves, and Vaughn is going to be placed in control as ruler of the Earth.
Yep.
So, unsurprisingly, his main motivation is just power and greed, and he wants to control everything.
Yeah, and so he's going to use Watkins' machine, obviously, as we mentioned before. So he decides to test it on the Cybermen.
Because he's gonna betray the Cybermen, basically, by controlling them.
Like, that's gonna work. But he tests it on the Cybermen, and he gives the Cybermen fear, and then it goes insane in probably the most terrifying scene in Doctor Who so far.
and it almost kills some people, and then it just leaves and goes down into the sewers.
All the while making this high-pitched electronic scream, which was terrifying.
Yeah. So the scientist dude, who I think was named Gregory, I'm not even sure. That's what I heard. But he's like, hey, Vaughn, isn't it bad that the Cybermen just went wild? And Vaughn's like, no, not really. Just let it loose in the sewers. Gregory's like, it'll kill anything it comes across. And Vaughn's like, good.
Basically. And then mild sexism.
Oh, but wait, before that, I also wanted to mention that, what's his name? The scientist, Gregory, looked kind of like Hitler.
What?
Like, he kind of had that hairstyle / mustache. You had to have noticed it.
No, I didn't. Not at all.
Well, go back and notice it, because it's noticeable.
What?
It's true. Like, I can't believe you didn't see that.
No.
Anyway,
the Brigadier decides they're going to send in some people to get pictures of the Cybermen. And he tells Isabel that it's not a job for a woman like her. And she's just like, wow. And so he's like, yeah, you know, how can he just think men are better than women? And then Jamie's like, well, they are. Like, what?
And so that prompts Zoe and Isabel to go down into the sewers and take pictures of the Cybermen themselves, because the doctor has deduced that the Cybermen are in the sewers somehow. I don't really know, but he's right.
Well, because he was like, well, the best way to invade London would be through the sewers, so they're going to go through the sewers.
Yeah, and there just happen to be some Cybermen down there.
So they get some pictures at the expense of 3 lives.
Yeah, they go down. Zoe, Isabel, and Jamie. Jamie follows them, but they go down to the sewers, and yeah, some soldiers follow them and die.
And the policeman who follows them dies.
Mainly due to Jamie, Zoe, and Isabel not calling for help when they needed it, because they didn't want to alert the Cybermen to their presence.
And I was just like, yeah, wow. Just 3 people died for these pictures. I hope it was worth it, Isabel.
But then it wasn't, because they bring the pictures back to Lethbridge-Stewart, and he's like, guys, these look forged.
I was just like...
Originally supposed to be 4 episodes.
But the Brigadier, I guess, decides to use them anyway. He's going to try, I guess. So he's going to go to Geneva and be like, hey, the Cybermen are invading. We need, like, force now. And, this is where the setting kind of gets confusing, because I could never tell if they were on a plane or not.
What?
Well, so
Wait,
it looked like they were in the command center, right? And
What?
I thought they were in the command center. And then in episode 6, the Brigadier was like, let me know when we touch down. I was like, wait, they're in a plane? This is in a plane?
When does he say, let me know when we touch down?
In episode 8.
I don't remember that at all.
And episode 6.
I don't remember that.
It was so confusing.
Are you sure you didn't hear it wrong?
No, I was certain of this. Because they were, like, in that building, right? And it had the map of the world in the background, right? And then,
okay.
I guess they reused that set for, like, other unit locations, because later on, when the people go to Russia and they go to, like, the base, they have that set, but they're supposedly on an airplane. So Brigadier's like, all right, we're ready for takeoff. And then they take off, and then they land.
I don't know. I wasn't confused by it. I just assumed they were in the unit base.
They were definitely in an airplane in episode 8, though, because the Brigadier says, let me know when we touch down. He specifically says that line.
Maybe he was somehow referring to the missiles that show up.
No.
I don't know how or why that would even make sense, but, you know, maybe. This show doesn't make sense sometimes.
Anyway.
So on to episode 6. Well, we kind of went into episode 6 with them getting back to the unit base, but
Well, they've realized that the Cybermen are gonna activate this
Oh, right, yeah,
control beam.
Yeah, they're gonna... So IE has secretly implemented circuits in all of its products for the Cybermen to beam their hypnotic signal to control everyone on Earth.
Including that radio that Jamie got that we actually didn't mention when we were explaining episodes 1 through 4, and turns out to be the key reason why the Doctor figures out what the Cybermen are gonna do. So,
right, because we also forgot to mention a few minutes ago that what the Doctor was doing while all of this was happening was that he was examining the IE radio because he thought something was suspicious about it, and he was right, again. And then he figures out what their plan is, and he helps the unit people create some neuristors.
Yeah, like in the Wheel in Space, when they all had that thing implanted in their brain that blocked transmissions. The Doctor has Zoe help the unit people make some, like, kind of, I guess, low-budget version of those.
Right, they stick them on the backs of their necks and it blocks the hypnotic beam. Or signal.
Yeah.
Except it doesn't work, because on one of them.
No, it works. It just falls off on the Doctor.
Oh, is that what it was?
Yeah.
Oh, well then he puts it back on. That was the end of episode 6, and obviously they started using the signal.
Yeah, in episode 7 they put it back on the Doctor. That was the cliffhanger that episode 6 ended on.
That didn't even need to happen. I feel like they just wanted the episode to end on a cliffhanger, so they introduced that, and then like resolved it in the first 30 seconds of episode 7.
Yeah, maybe. But anyway, we forgot to mention while all this is going on, the Doctor has decided that the only way to stop this is to blow up the spaceship, the Cyberman spaceship, that's orbiting the moon.
Right, because they figured out that the spaceship that they saw at the beginning of this serial is the thing sending the signal to Earth.
Yeah.
So they need to do that, so they need to get Russia to blow it up.
Yeah, because nobody had a rocket on the launch pad when they all got taken over, except Russia had a manned mission that was going to launch, and the unit scientific guy's like, well, we could fit a warhead to that rocket instead of like a manned capsule. We just have to fly over there, like revive the Russians, and then
revive the Russians
and have
necromance the Russians
and have them fit the warhead to the rocket so we can destroy the spaceship. So they go off to do that, and then there's also some invasion ships coming down, and the Brigadier decides to go to the nearest missile base to blow those out of the sky. With Zoe. He takes Zoe with him. And the Doctor goes... I don't know where the Doctor goes.
The Doctor goes to talk with Vaughn.
Yeah.
Because he thinks that will help somehow.
He's trying to buy them time, basically.
Yeah, because they need...
Because they need to fit the warhead.
So the Doctor goes to IE again. And he gets in. Vaughn actually lets him in because he needs an audience with him. So he gets one, and at that point, the unit has succeeded in blowing up some of the invasion force, or at least launching the missiles. And the cyber controller thing that Vaughn was talking to is like, "You've betrayed us, Vaughn. You sent missiles against our spaceships. Now you die." And Vaughn's like, no. Oh, we also forgot to mention the whole thing where Vaughn gets shot.
Oh, yeah. And then you're just like, what? Which is also never explained, but...
No, it's because he was... Because remember, he was going to get his body cyberified. And then that also happens off screen.
What?
Wait, you don't remember this?
I knew he was getting cyberified, but I don't think it happened off screen.
No, that's...
Because I thought they meant like they were going to turn him into a Cyberman.
No, because remember he says, I'll have my... They say you'll be transformed into a Cyberman, and then he's like, no, we agreed that my body will be cyberified, but I'll still retain my humanity. And then they agree to that.
Yeah, but they didn't do it yet, because none of the Cybermen had landed yet. So there's no way they could have done it yet.
I thought they somehow did it off screen, and that's the only explanation for how he gets shot 3 times in the chest and lives.
The Cybermen hadn't landed yet, so there's no way that even makes sense.
But there were Cybermen there already, who they were reviving, but still.
And just sending into the sewer.
But it doesn't matter. It still could have happened off screen, like all the other stuff that happened off screen during this
cyberization that's not even in line with what the Cybermen have done before.
he says that he doesn't want to be fully cyberfied, and they agree to that.
Yeah, but
The
that would mean that they'd
agrees to
still,
it.
like, put that cyber armor on him. They wouldn't make him leave him still look like a human. That just doesn't make sense.
Maybe they would. Who knows?
It just doesn't make sense.
It's literally the only explanation for how he survives.
No, he could just be wearing a bulletproof vest.
Just a random bulletproof vest.
Which is a way more logical explanation and requires less making up things.
No, he definitely got cyberfied.
I think he was just wearing a bulletproof vest.
Anyway, we didn't even explain the scene. So what happens is that way before all of this, Watkins has finished the emotion controlling machine, and he brings it into Vaughn, and he makes the comment that if he had the chance to kill Vaughn, he would. So Vaughn gives him a gun, and he's like, do it, Watkins. And he does, but he shoots Vaughn 3 times in the chest, but Vaughn lives.
And I was just like, why didn't you aim for the head?
Well, I mean, he wouldn't have worked because he was cyberified.
Not if it was just a bulletproof vest, then it would have been like in that A-Team reboot movie where they're like, well, you can't bulletproof a head, and then it's like, but you can. If you melt down, Kevlar. Yeah, I guess that's a minor spoiler for the end. Actually, that's a big spoiler for the ending of the movie, but...
Wow. I was gonna watch that. No, I wasn't.
Actually, that spoiler makes no sense if you haven't seen the movie, so... Anyway...
yeah, we forgot to mention
So Vaughn survives, and
Yeah.
then Unit captures Watkins... They rescue Watkins. This is way before they even make the neurotransistor things.
Yeah.
And yeah.
And there's a bunch of other stuff that happens off screen.
Yeah, that's really annoying because they're like they're like, all right, we're gonna go rescue Watkins, and then it just cuts to like a survivor of the raid telling Vaughn that they all died. And I'm like, what? Why didn't you just show us that? Show, don't tell.
But yeah, we're back to where we were to begin with. Right. So the cyber controller thing thinks that Vaughn has betrayed them.
What? Well, we forgot to mention Zoe just being completely overpowered, using 30 seconds.
Another thing we forgot to mention.
Somehow, they're like, even a computer couldn't calculate the places the missiles should hit to destroy all of them, because they don't have enough missiles to destroy all the ships.
Right.
Unless they do what Zoe says, which is to like create a cascading explosion.
Yeah. Zoe's like, give me 30 seconds and I'll figure out where to launch the missiles.
And she does. And it works and destroys all of them instead of the 90% that she predicted.
Well, she is from the future.
She's still just a human.
But she's from the future.
That doesn't mean anything.
So yeah. Then comes one of my favorite scenes in this entire serial. So Vaughn uses the emotion controlling machine to destroy the robot. We both really couldn't tell what this was, because it might have been like the cyber controller thing from before, altered visually slightly. I don't know. But it might also have been just a transmission device that Vaughn was talking to. Either way, he destroys it. I think the wiki mentioned that he killed the cyber controller. I don't know if they use that term.
Whatever term they use.
So we are putting that on the death count. Right.
I mean, along with the other, like, 30 things that died in the serial.
In episode 8 specifically, again, they're going with the whole significantly raise the death count in the final episode thing. But anyway, Vaughn is somehow injured, or he like loses the will to live or something.
I thought he got shocked by the cyber controller.
Something like
or
that.
Got caught in the blast when it blew up.
Yeah, something of that sort. So he's lying on the floor, and the doctor is trying to convince him that since they're both enemies of the Cybermen now, enemy of my enemy is my friend, so... Wait, that saying doesn't work here. But either way, the doctor's trying to convince him to work together. And I thought Vaughn was going to be like, you know what? I see the error of my ways. I'm going to help humanity now.
Why would he do that?
And that? I don't know, but I just thought something like that was going to happen. And I'm glad it didn't. because Vaughn does end up helping the Doctor, but he says that he won't help him because he thinks humanity should survive, but that he hates the Cybermen. And I'm completely glad they didn't go 180 on his character like I thought they would.
And also reveals how hatred is the worst emotion and just gets you killed.
Well, he didn't get just...
And greed.
Well...
He was too greedy. He got wrecked by the Cybermen.
Well, honestly, Vaughn's death was kind of just...
Well, we'll get there.
We'll get there. So the Doctor and Vaughn decide that they need to destroy the thing. I was kind of confused here. I guess they were trying to destroy what was the main thing that was the signal was getting transmitted to.
Oh, wait, here's how I interpreted everything. So they're using...
Headcanon.
I guess, because they didn't explain it well in the show. But they're using this much was confirmed, that they're using the radio transmitter to, like, control everyone, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so that much was confirmed. And then in episode, 7, they just threw in this, we're going to drop a cyber megaton bomb.
Megatron bomb. I remember that because Transformers.
On Earth, and it's going to kill all the non-Cybermen. So I was like, well, I guess the way the bomb targets the people on Earth is that, if they're being controlled by the radio beam, then they die when the bomb drops.
Guess.
So I was like, all right, so I guess they need to destroy the radio transmitter so the bomb doesn't work. So that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes sense.
That was my headcanon.
Yeah, better than what they did in the show, which was literally not explaining things very well.
Well, not only was it not explaining, it just turned out that they didn't even need to destroy the radio transmitter to stop the bomb because they just blew the bomb out of the sky from the missile base.
Hey, they were covering their bases. But anyway, we also slightly glossed over, again, the part where after the cyber controller's like, you betrayed us, Vaughn, it tells him that, hey, we're just going to drop a bomb and kill everything now. Good luck. Which, this brought up some continuity issues, and at this point they were all mentioned, so I think we should talk about that now, possibly. So, this takes place a year or two, I guess, after...
4 years.
4 years after Web of Fear?
4-ish, yeah.
So that still puts it before 1985, which was the whole Mondas situation in 10th Planet. Now, the Cybermen were trying... Well, they decided that they needed to destroy everything on Earth once Vaughn betrayed them. And at first I was like, well, why are they trying to do that when they need to revive Mondas using Earth's energy? But that can be credited to the fact that maybe Mondas wasn't dying yet.
Yeah.
And that kind of makes sense. I mean, but then there was the part where Vaughn mentioned that he helped bring the Cybermen to Earth. Now that still makes sense if you think about it, but I don't know, I just felt like the writers for this weren't exactly aware of the continuity. Not that it really matters. I honestly wasn't bothered by this. It doesn't really affect anything, but I did notice it, so I wanted to point it out. I'm not one of those guys who's like, oh my god, the continuity is ruined, I hate this show, but...
Well, the continuity's still intact, technically.
It is. There was nothing to ruin it, but I did notice that there were some aspects of the serial that made you think, what's going on here?
I mean, I was looking up the continuity of the Cybermen before we started recording, because I was like, well, maybe there's an explanation in a later serial.
Nope. I'm just guessing.
Well, actually, you're right, but well, I guess you could headcanon a couple of explanations. One of the places says that Planet 14 was that these Cybermen are from Planet 14 and not from Mondas.
God.
And the Planet 14 Cybermen were an offshoot of the Mondas Cybermen who colonized Planet 14, and then then they invaded Earth in the serial.
That would also explain the moon base.
It would also explain the whole "we recognize the Doctor from Planet 14" thing.
Yeah.
Another one is that they just acquired time travel, went back in time, and tried to destroy Earth.
I was actually thinking that this all makes sense if the Cybermen have time travel.
Well, the Daleks have time travel, so...
Why not?
As soon as a race acquires time travel, you may as well just give up trying to assemble their continuity, because it's probably all wrong.
But But yeah, honestly, in a show as long as this, with so many different writers, I'm not really bothered by something like
In a
this.
show like this with so many writers, I'm impressed the continuity is as straight as it is.
That's true.
I mean, not that it's like perfect, but I'm still impressed that it's like as like continuity wise as congruent as it is.
Yeah. So yeah, into episode 8, the Doctor and Vaughn are storming the base on foot, just massacring Cybermen as they go.
No, that's not true. Vaughn is about to kill one of them, and the Doctor's like, "We have the element of surprise. Let's keep it." And not 2 minutes later, they get cornered by a Cyberman, and they kill it.
They do kill a couple Cybermen.
You mean Vaughn kills a couple Cybermen?
Yeah. Well, the Doctor kills one.
Yeah, in Vaughn's office.
Yeah. So yeah, apparently to me, 4 Cybermen is a massacre, but yeah.
Massacred. 4 of them died.
Meanwhile, some other things were going wrong with the missiles, and more Cybermen ships showed up.
No, it's still the same one. It just decided to go lower for some reason. Now they have to turn the Russian missile to hit the ship. And now all of a sudden the missiles from the missile base in England just miss on their first volley. After all hitting perfectly earlier, they just miss.
Well, that can be reasoned away by them being completely unreliable, except they actually happened to work this one time. Which still doesn't make much sense. And still is a really crappy explanation. But it works.
Maybe it's because Zoe wasn't there. Zoe is just the key to everything. Zoe is the reason everything works.
Yeah.
But anyway, they somehow blow up the bomb, so
maybe.
Now...
Okay, never mind. Yeah, they do that.
They blow up the ship too with the Russian missile, and Vaughn dies. Yeah. And we're just gonna gloss over it like they did. No.
Yeah, they completely gloss over it. Vaughn gets killed by a Cyberman, and nobody mentions it.
Well, the Doctor almost gets killed.
But then they, use an RPG to kill one Cyberman.
Conveniently, the Cyberman gets terrible aim between killing Vaughn and trying to kill the Doctor.
Yeah, I was surprised that for Vaughn's death, they literally just used, he gets shot, and
well, I'm glad they didn't, go over the top with it, and they kind of just made it, something that's believable.
I mean, yeah, it was realistic, but they didn't need to go over the top with it to at least mention it.
Maybe they did, because they did, cut more scenes from this.
I guess.
They just keep mentioning things, and then you assume they're going to show them, and they just cut to after the thing has happened. Like the Brigadier going, "Good job, Ben." It's like, what?
Right. They say that they've succeeded, and then it cuts to Zoe getting her photo taken by Isabel.
Yeah.
Not that they left anything major out there when you really think about it, but it was still kind of a jarring shift.
Yeah. So...
The day is saved.
So they drop the Doctor off in a field, and they're like, "Wait, here?" And he's like, "Yep." You just wander through the field and find the TARDIS, and then they leave. And Jamie shows up, as we forgot to mention, in episode 6, he gets shot.
Oh, yeah. In the leg.
It didn't even look like the leg. He just goes, "Ah!"
And it was in his arm.
It was his leg.
Okay.
But, you don't know it's his leg till dialogue mentions it. I mean, for all you know, he just died in that episode until someone goes, "Oh, yeah, Jamie's in the hospital."
It was Zoe who said that. Yeah, Jamie didn't really do much in this serial except accompany the Doctor for a little bit and then
he did some stuff in the beginning in the first 4 episodes.
Yeah, but then he started sleeping and waking up and
shot in the leg.
But before that, he was sleeping while everyone else was working, and then when he woke up, someone was like, "Finish your tea, Jamie, and just go back to sleep."
When he woke up,
Fraser Hines went on holiday. And
then the Doctor was explaining the Cyberman invasion. He's like, "Oh, nice of you to wake up, Jamie." Yeah, but what if he just got written out by just getting gunned down and just glossed over like Vaughn's
I told
death?
you it would happen.
Just like Vaughn, just gloss over it. He gets shot. 3
serials right out the note. No.
3 serials from now, the Doctor's just like, "Hey, wait a minute, where's Jamie?" Zoe goes, "He died, in London."
Or even worse, it'd be like, hey, didn't we used to travel around with this Scotsman? And Zoe's like, I don't remember that.
Wow, that would be really bad. Travel with him for 2 seasons, just forget him.
Okay, there was one last thing I wanted to mention from the final scene. It's when Isabel and What's-His-Face are watching the TARDIS not materialize, but show up because it was invisible, if you remember. And they're like, what's going on? And then you just see this shot of Zoe and Jamie just giving these super, like, I don't even know how to describe these smiles that they were giving them.
Super over-exaggerated.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, it was pre-recorded before Frasier went on holiday.
Yep.
And he probably watched it on TV, and he was like, wow, really over-exaggerated that. At some point in the serial, Zoe changes back into a bright silver jumpsuit thing.
Yeah.
Just,
don't know why or how, but it happens. I guess
it happens off-screen. One scene...
Another thing that happens off-screen.
One scene she's got a bow on, and the next she's in a sparkly silver jumpsuit.
Yeah.
Which is like borderline skin tight, I might add.
Yeah. So yeah, honestly, when I read that this serial was extended from 4 episodes to 8, I was surprised because it didn't feel like it.
It felt like, if anything, it was shortened for more episodes. Like, in the final, 4 episodes, a whole bunch of scenes just, glossed over.
That's true, yeah. Yeah, so I'm not really sure why they went that route. I mean, everything fit into this serial. If they went for one of the scenes that they skipped, they would have had to skip something else, which in hindsight might have been a better decision. They might have wanted to skip one of the dialogue-heavy scenes that didn't add much. Well, I don't want to say didn't add much to the plot, because the dialogue did advance the plot in this a lot, but it could have been condensed possibly into shorter dialogue, and then they could have shown some more of the scenes. But hey, I'm all for not showing an action scene if the writers or people who do the screenplay don't know what to do with it, or if they think it's just going to be a boring 4 to 5 minute action scene that's not going to really contribute anything. I'm okay with them leaving that out. If they think it's going to be interesting, yeah, I'm all for putting it in, but that's just my stance on it.
It's possible they cut out the action scenes because already, just as the 8 episode, this was like the most expensive serial so far. And it would remain the most expensive serial for like a couple more years still.
And I read that the part of this serial's whole pitch was that they were trying to prove the point that they could create serials set on Earth on the cheap. And that's how that worked out.
So, I mean, yeah, with the skipping scenes, like, one of the strengths of this serial was that it was pretty fast-paced and didn't feel like it was too slow. But I might even go so far to say is with the skipped scenes, it felt like it almost was too fast-paced. And was kind of started losing me because it started skipping scenes, and I kind of was like trying to catch up with the story. Yeah,
you had to really pay attention, like our confusion with the whole missile thing kind of proves. You definitely had to pay a lot of attention in this serial. It's not one of those serials where you can zone out.
Like Fury from the Deep.
Or like Massacre, where you basically have to zone out because it's like stabbing yourself.
Massacre of St. Bartholomew's Eve could be described in like 2 sentences as Stephen tries to find the doctor and instead finds the abbot. A lot. This is the whole serial. Yeah.
Then gets pissed that people are dying, but that was the most interesting part of that serial, but
back to this serial.
Yeah, I mean, like I was saying before, it did kind of feel like there were 2 sets of rising action in this serial, which worked out well for how we watched it.
Right, and I think it would have worked well if you were watching like 1 episode a week. I think it would have been okay too.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess. I can't really speak on that. So
not like we have experience with that, so can't really talk on that topic.
Other than that, I was just glad that they didn't make Vaughn suddenly care about humanity, and instead they kept his character intact.
Yeah, this is probably the strongest serial of the Second Doctor so far, I'd say.
Really?
Yeah, I'd go so far as to say that. It was enjoyable. It had well-written dialogue. It was pretty... It kept you interested. It was pretty quick-moving. It had a memorable villain.
Yeah, I'd say it's up there along with the Faceless Ones because of, one, it introduced a reoccurring villain, the Cybermen, not introduced, it...
Reintroduced.
Reintroduced the Cybermen. And in an interesting way. But it also had its own unique villain in Vaughn that sort of added that, I don't know, spice to it, I guess. But it wasn't just like another Cyberman serial. It was its own thing, and it incorporated the Cybermen into its plot and in a way that didn't make them feel shoehorned in.
Right. They were an integral part of the plot, but you didn't really know that until you were about halfway through the serial, which I also think was interesting that they kind of went that route, and instead of going for like something they've done before, they just like 2 episodes in, that's the Cyberman, and now they're gonna have to spend 6 episodes trying to figure it out.
Yeah, and really glad this serial wasn't titled something of the Cybermen, because that would have thrown a wrench in everything.
Well, it was going to be titled Return of the Cybermen, but then the producer was like, well, we want to keep the reveal a secret, so we're going to like rename it The Invasion so that...
Good on you, producer.
So that was pretty smart. I think
I hope they go for that more in the future instead of doing like of the Daleks, of the Cybermen, so that it can actually be a secret if they're intending to do that. Not that they should always keep it a secret. Sometimes you just want to have a straight-up Cyberman serial. Which can get boring after a while, but sometimes, you know.
The reintroduction of the Cybermen in the reboot. It's just like, you watch the episode and you think they're going for like the whole, you don't know it's the Cybermen until the end, but then the episode's just titled Of the Cybermen, so you know anyway.
Wow.
You're just like...
Wow.
Great. It worked, it actually... Because they titled the reintroduction of the Daleks was titled Dalek, and I think that worked out well because that was a really good episode, and the title made sense for that episode.
Well, were they?
No, well, they found out that Dalek was the main villain right at the beginning.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, he wasn't. I don't want to spoil too much of the plot because it was a good episode, but he was kind of like a secondary villain. But he was also kind of a secondary protagonist. It's really weird. You have to watch the episode, but it's a good episode.
You know, it's going to be weird when I get to the reboot because it's just going to be single episode stories when I'm so used to, 4 to 6 or even more.
Well,
they're going to feel short.
It'll start winding down. I mean, by the end of the classic series, they started consistently being just 4 episodes.
Yeah. They pretty much are. They pretty much were for a while 4 episodes. Now they're starting to get to be a little more, but they do go back to 4.
They kind of remain at 4 with 4 serials per season at the very end, and then it kind of...
I don't know. It's still going to feel short to me, I assume, once we get there, but we'll see.
Well, the thing about the reboot episodes is that, unlike these episodes, which are 23 minutes, the reboot ones are 46.
Yeah.
So...
But still, like, even with a 4-episode serial, it's like twice as long as 1 episode of the reboot.
I guess.
But I mean, if they have, obviously they're writing stories that they can tell in 45 minutes, so...
And there's a couple of good, strong 2-parter episodes in the reboot, too.
Yeah, there are the 2-parters.
So...
Yeah. And I feel like there's more overarching plot lines, definitely, later on.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
This is the beginning of a new script editor's run, and if it continues with this level of strength, I am excited.
Yeah, definitely.
My final thought is, I know last week I mentioned that I thought that a Cyberman episode in the reboot was referencing this episode from the most recent season was referencing this serial, and the scene of the Cybermen walking out of St. Peter's Cathedral is actually a super iconic scene for the Cybermen, and I didn't know it was in this serial till this week, and they emulate that scene in the reboot in the most recent season. So definitely, if anyone watched season 8 with the 12th Doctor, yes, that entire 2-part episode is a reference to this serial. So just in case you were wondering. They put a lot of references to old serials in the most recent season of Doctor Who. So that's going to be exciting when we get there and we can talk about all of them. Because I know I didn't catch all of them when I watched, and I only read about them later. I was like, hey, that'll be cool when I finally understand what that reference is. But So that wraps up the invasion
Yeah.
of the Cybermen. Email us at thedoctor@decorativevegetable.com. Check out the website, decorativevegetable.com. Check us out on iTunes at Trust Your Doctor, and check us out on YouTube at Trust Your Doctor. Slowly backlogging episodes, and I should be done eventually.
Yeah, definitely check us out on Facebook, Trust Your Doctor. Interesting facts, things we forgot to mention in the episodes. And that's it for this week. So next week we have, what do we have? The Crotons, 4-episode serial. But until then, the end.